Have you ever wondered where we came from? What is the true origin of black people? In today's video, we will dive deep into two fascinating perspectives: modern science and biblical accounts. Do these two approaches complement each other, or do they conflict? Stay with us and discover the answers. In this video, we will explore scientific evidence, including genetic studies and archaeological discoveries, alongside the stories and genealogies presented in the Bible. You will understand how these two narratives have shaped our view of the origin of black people and what it means for our identity and history. Whether you are seeking knowledge or just curious to learn more about your roots, this video is for you. Watching this video can transform your perception of history and provide a solid foundation for understanding the different narratives that explain our existence. Are you ready to question your beliefs and expand your horizon? Then, prepare for a revealing journey that will change the way you see the world and yourself. How have science and religion addressed the question of the origin of black people over the years? Over the centuries, science and religion have offered unique perspectives on the origin of black people, shaping human understanding in profound and sometimes conflicting ways. Science, with its empirical and evidence-based approach, has used archaeological discoveries, fossils, and genetic studies to trace the roots of African peoples. These studies point to Africa as the cradle of humanity, where the first hominids evolved and spread across the world. The "Ear-out of Africa" theory suggests that all modern humans descend from a group that migrated out of the African continent around 60,000 years ago. On the other hand, religion, especially through sacred texts like the Bible, offers narratives that transcend the material, providing spiritual and moral meanings for human existence. In the Bible, the origin of peoples is often related to the stories of Adam and Eve, Noah and his sons, and the dispersions of their descendants. These narratives have been interpreted over the years in various ways, sometimes being used to justify ideas of racial superiority, while in other instances, to promote equality and brotherhood among all human beings. The tension between science and religion often manifests in how each addresses the origin of black people. Science relies on tangible evidence, such as mitochondrial DNA indicating a common African ancestor for all humans, while religion often resorts to faith and the interpretation of sacred texts. Archaeology has revealed traces of ancient African civilizations that demonstrate a high degree of sophistication and contribution to humanity, challenging negative stereotypes that have existed for centuries. In addition to scientific discoveries, cultural anthropology has shown that the oral traditions, myths, and legends of various African cultures contain their own explanations about the origin of black people, rich in symbolism and cultural meaning. These accounts not only strengthen the sense of identity among African peoples, but also provide a diverse and complex view that complements scientific explanations. Religion, through its stories and teachings, continues to play a crucial role in shaping identities and understanding the place of black people in the world. Despite the differences between science and religion, there is important common ground. Both perspectives seek to understand the human condition and its origin. The convergence of these views can offer a richer and more complete understanding of human history. Integrating scientific discoveries with religious narratives can help build a more inclusive worldview that respects both empirical evidence and spiritual faith. This not only enriches knowledge, but also promotes greater respect and understanding among different cultures and beliefs. How does the Bible address the question of the origin of black people? The Bible is a rich and profound source of stories that explain the origin of all peoples, including black people. According to the biblical account, all human beings are descendants of Adam and Eve, the first couple created by God. This fundamental narrative establishes that we all share a common origin, being created in the image and likeness of God. This highlights the essential unity and equality of all humanity, a powerful principle that reminds us that we are all brothers and sisters, regardless of our appearance. After the flood, the Bible tells us about Noah and his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. According to the scriptures, the descendants of Ham are often associated with the peoples of Africa. This connection is found in passages that speak about Ham's sons, such as Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan, who spread across different regions, including the African continent. This biblical genealogy has been used over the years to explain the origins of African peoples and their dispersion across the world. The story of Cush, son of Ham, is particularly significant. In the Bible, Cush is mentioned several times, and his descendants are associated with a great civilization known for its wealth and power. For example, the Queen of Sheba, who visited King Solomon, is often identified as being from the region of Ethiopia, a territory associated with the descendants of Cush. This biblical narrative underscores the importance and contribution of African peoples in sacred history. It is important to note that, over the centuries, the interpretation of these biblical passages has varied. Unfortunately, some erroneous interpretations have been used to justify slavery and racial discrimination. However, a more careful and compassionate reading of the scriptures reveals that the Bible emphasizes the dignity and value of all human beings. The central message of the Bible is one of love, equality, and justice for all, regardless of origin or skin color. For Christians, understanding the origin of Black people from the Bible is more than a matter of genealogy. It is an opportunity to reflect on the unity and diversity of the human family. By recognizing the contribution of African peoples and celebrating the rich tapestry of stories and cultures, we can promote a deeper understanding and mutual respect. This biblical perspective invites us to see the beauty of God's creation in all its diversity, recognizing that we are all part of a greater divine plan. Discoveries about mitochondrial DNA and genetic diversity. The study of mitochondrial DNA has revolutionized our understanding of the origin and evolution of human beings. Unlike nuclear DNA, which is a combination of genes from both parents, mitochondrial DNA is inherited exclusively from the mother. This peculiarity allows for the tracing of maternal lineages over thousands of years. Scientists have discovered that all modern humans share a common ancestor who lived in Africa about 200,000 years ago, often referred to as a mitochondrial Eve. This crucial discovery strengthens the theory that humanity has its roots in Africa. The analysis of mitochondrial DNA has revealed an impressive genetic diversity within African populations, much greater than in any other continent. This suggests that Africans were not only the first modern humans, but also lived in Africa for a long period, accumulating genetic variations over time. This genetic diversity is powerful evidence of Africa's central role in human evolution. Each lineage and genetic variation tells a part of the complex story of our species. In addition to revealing the African origin of humanity, the study of mitochondrial DNA has helped trace human migrations around the world. As small groups of humans left Africa and spread to other parts of the globe, they carried with them only a fraction of the original genetic diversity. This genetic bottleneck results in less diversity in non-African populations compared to African ones. Migration routes can be mapped through specific mutations in mitochondrial DNA, painting a detailed picture of our ancestors' journeys. These discoveries have also challenged many preconceived ideas about race and ethnicity. Modern genetics shows that visible differences between populations are the surface of a much deeper and more complex genetic diversity. All human races and ethnicities are interconnected by a web of genetic relationships that originate in Africa. This knowledge underscores the unity of the human species and the superficial nature of racial distinctions, promoting a more inclusive and empathetic view of our diversity. Research on mitochondrial DNA has not only expanded our understanding of human origins, but also brought us closer as a species. By recognizing that we all share a common ancestry, we can foster a greater sense of solidarity and respect among peoples. Science, by revealing the depth of our genetic connection, offers a powerful tool to combat racism and discrimination, reminding us of our shared humanity and the common legacy we all carry. Discoveries about mitochondrial DNA and genetic diversity from a biblical perspective. The Bible offers us a rich and profound perspective on the unity of humanity. According to Scripture, we are all descendants of Adam and Eve, the first couple created by God. This biblical narrative emphasizes that, despite our apparent differences, we all share a common origin. Just as modern science reveals our connection through mitochondrial DNA, the Bible reminds us that we are one large human family, created in the image and likeness of God. Noah and his sons are central figures in biblical history, especially after the flood. His sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, are seen as the ancestors of the different nations of the world. According to the Bible, the descendants of these three brothers spread throughout the earth, forming diverse cultures and peoples. This dispersion parallels scientific discoveries about human migrations, showing that human diversity originated from a single family. This reminds us that, despite cultural and ethnic differences, we are all part of the same sacred lineage. Biblical genealogies, such as those found in the book of Genesis, trace the lineages of many nations, including African ones. For example, the descendants of Ham, especially Cush, are often associated with regions of Africa. These narratives show that the Bible acknowledges the diversity of peoples and celebrates the variety of human cultures. Science, by revealing genetic diversity, confirms this rich tapestry of stories and inheritances that the Bible already highlighted. The central message of the Bible is unity amidst diversity. Just as science shows us that we all carry pieces of our common ancestry, the Bible teaches us that we were all created by God with a unique purpose and dignity. The genetic diversity that science discovers can be seen as a manifestation of divine creativity, where each person is a unique expression of God's love. This challenges us to see beyond our differences and embrace our shared humanity. Ultimately, the Bible invites us to live in harmony and love one another, recognizing the image of God in every human being. Discoveries about mitochondrial DNA and genetic diversity reinforce this view, showing that we are all deeply interconnected. This understanding can inspire us to build a more just and compassionate world, where we celebrate our diversity as a reflection of divine beauty. May we, through scientific knowledge and biblical wisdom, cultivate a spirit of unity and love among all peoples. Relevant archaeological finds and their significance. Over the past few decades, archaeological discoveries in Africa have shed new light on the origin of Black people and the evolution of humanity. Sites like Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania, where fossils of ancient hominids were found, and Blombos Cave in South Africa, which revealed sophisticated tools and artifacts dating back up to 100,000 years, are powerful examples of how Africa is the cradle of human civilization. These discoveries not only identify Africa as the starting point for human migration, but also challenge the idea that advanced civilizations developed only outside the African continent. The importance of these findings cannot be underestimated. In Olduvai Gorge, the fossils of Homo habilis and Homo erectus show a direct evolutionary line leading to Homo sapiens, confirming the theory that our direct ancestors evolved in Africa. Additionally, the stone tools found there are some of the oldest ever discovered, demonstrating that technological capability and human intelligence began to develop on the African continent. These tools show that early humans were inventive and adaptable, skills that would be crucial for their survival and migration. Another significant find is the skeleton of Lucy, an Australopithecus afarensis found in Ethiopia in 1974. Lucy lived about 3.2 million years ago and is one of the most complete hominid skeletons ever found. Her skeleton revealed much about bipedal locomotion, showing that our ancestors were already walking on two legs millions of years before the emergence of Homo sapiens. This discovery was crucial for understanding human evolution and reinforced Africa as the birthplace of our species. The Blombos Cave, on the other hand, revealed not only tools, but also decorative artifacts such as perforated shells and pieces of ochre with engraved patterns, dating back 75,000 to 100,000 years ago. These findings indicate that early humans in Africa had a sense of symbolism and creativity much earlier than previously thought. This challenges the notion that symbolic thought and complex culture first emerged in Europe and Asia, reaffirming Africa as a center of innovation and cultural development. These archaeological discoveries also influence our understanding of genetic diversity among African peoples. The depth and complexity of ancient civilizations found in Africa indicate that African populations were highly diverse and culturally rich long before migrating to other continents. This is reflected in the genetic variability found in modern African populations, which is the highest among all human populations. Each archaeological find contributes to this understanding, painting a picture of a vibrant and dynamic continent since the dawn of humanity. The influence of these discoveries extends beyond academia, impacting how people view African history and identity. By recognizing Africa as the cradle of humanity and the site of some of the earliest advanced civilizations, we challenge Eurocentric narratives that often marginalize or ignore African contributions to global history. This recognition is crucial for revaluing African history and promoting greater respect and understanding among all cultures. Archaeological finds in Africa also play an important role in education and combating racism. By teaching about these discoveries, we can help dismantle racist stereotypes and prejudices rooted in a misunderstanding of human history. Showing that Africa was a center of innovation and civilization from the earliest times helps build a fairer and more inclusive narrative, where all cultures and peoples are recognized for their contributions to humanity. Furthermore, these archaeological discoveries have a profound impact on the identity and pride of African peoples and the African diaspora. Knowing that their ancestors were pioneers in many areas of human civilization can strengthen a sense of identity and value. This knowledge helps combat the lasting effects of colonialism and slavery, which often sought to dehumanize and marginalize African peoples. Archaeology, therefore, is not just a science of the past, but a powerful tool for shaping the present and the future. Archaeology also helps us understand how early humans adapted and survived in different environments, offering valuable lessons for the challenges we face today. For example, the technological and social innovations developed by our ancestors can inspire us to find creative solutions to modern problems. The resilience and adaptability demonstrated by early humans are a testament to the human capacity to overcome adversity and thrive, a powerful message for all of us. In summary, archaeological finds in Africa not only illuminate our distant past, but also profoundly influence our understanding of the origin and evolution of Black people. These discoveries reinforce Africa as the cradle of humanity and show that early humans were technologically advanced and culturally rich. By recognizing and celebrating these discoveries, we can promote a more inclusive and fair view of human history, one that values all cultural contributions and helps build a more equitable future. Archaeological finds and their significance from a biblical perspective. The Bible is a treasure trove of stories that connect all peoples to a greater divine plan, and archaeological finds often echo these stories in profound and surprising ways. The Bible speaks of the dispersion of Noah's sons after the flood, mentioning nations and peoples that settled in various regions. For example, the descendants of Ham are often associated with Africa. Archaeology, by finding traces of ancient African civilizations, confirms the presence of complex and advanced cultures that thrived for millennia, reflecting the diversity and richness mentioned in the scriptures. These archaeological finds are a testimony to the achievements of African peoples and the biblical promises that all nations were created by God with a purpose and destiny. By uncovering tools, artifacts, and remnants of ancient cities, we see God's hand in human history, guiding and blessing peoples on their journeys. Each discovery reminds us of the importance of every nation and culture, as described in the Bible, reinforcing the message that all parts of humanity have value and dignity. The Bible also teaches us about the value of knowledge and wisdom. Archaeological findings, by shedding light on aspects of our past, help us better understand the scriptures and the historical context in which they were written. For example, discoveries of cities like Thebes and Carthage, which have connections to biblical characters and events, offer a clearer and more detailed view of the biblical world. This enriches our faith and our understanding of God's promises. Additionally, archaeological findings challenge us to see the unity of God's creation. Just as the Bible tells us that we are all descendants of Adam and Eve, archaeology shows that, despite our cultural and ethnic differences, we share a common past. The tools and artifacts found at various African archaeological sites are evidence that humanity, since its earliest days, has been inventive, adaptable, and resilient. This reflects God's image in us, an image of creativity and ingenuity. Finally, archaeological findings inspire us to appreciate and value human diversity, as God intended. Biblical stories and scientific discoveries intertwine to show that the diversity of cultures and peoples is part of God's grand design. Each artifact found at African archaeological sites is a reminder of the beauty and complexity of God's creation. Celebrating these discoveries is celebrating God's work and the rich tapestry of humanity, where each thread contributes to a larger picture of unity and divine purpose. The story of Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, is one of the most significant narratives in the Bible, especially in the context of the origin of peoples and nations. After the Great Flood, Noah and his family were the only survivors of humanity. The Bible tells us that from Noah's sons, the nations of the world were repopulated. Ham, the son of Noah, is traditionally associated with African regions, and his descendants, particularly Cush, are often linked to Africa. According to the scriptures, Ham had 4 sons: Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. Of these, Cush is frequently identified as the ancestor of Ethiopians and other African peoples. The Bible mentions Cush in several passages, emphasizing the importance of his lineage. For example, Genesis 10 verses 6-7 presents the lineage of the sons of Ham and highlights that Cush was the father of Nimrod, one of the earliest great leaders of humanity and founder of several important cities in Mesopotamia. The mention of Cush and his descendants in the biblical context gives us a glimpse of the dispersal of peoples after the flood. These biblical narratives have been interpreted in various ways over the centuries, but a careful reading reveals the importance of African peoples in sacred history. The fact that the descendants of Ham, especially through Cush, were mentioned prominently suggests that the Bible recognizes the diversity and vitality of African peoples since ancient times. The Bible also refers to the land of Cush on several occasions, often associating it with wealth and power. For example, the Queen of Sheba, who visited King Solomon, is often identified as being from the region of Ethiopia, the land of Cush. This visit, described in 1 Kings 10, is a testimony to the interaction and mutual respect between different cultures and kingdoms. The Queen of Sheba brought many valuable gifts to Solomon, underscoring the wealth and sophistication of her kingdom. In addition to biblical references, the Jewish and Christian traditions also have a rich history of interpreting these narratives. Some scholars believe that the curse of Canaan, Ham's son, mentioned in Genesis 9 verse 25, has been misinterpreted over the years to justify slavery and racial discrimination. However, a deeper and more contextualized reading reveals that this curse was specific to Canaan and not to all descendants of Ham. This understanding is crucial to combating harmful and racist interpretations of Scripture. The story of Noah and his sons is, therefore, a narrative that encompasses both the dispersal of peoples and the interconnectedness of all nations. By understanding that all human beings descend from a common family, we can appreciate the unity and diversity of God's creation. This perspective reminds us that, regardless of superficial differences, we are all part of the same human family, created in the image of God. These narratives also have a powerful spiritual impact. They teach us about God's sovereignty in human history and His ability to bring renewal and hope even after great catastrophes. The story of the flood and the new covenant that God made with Noah and his descendants symbolizes a new beginning for humanity. This message of redemption and new life is central to the Christian faith and encourages us to view history with hope and faith. Furthermore, the stories of Noah and his sons challenge us to reflect on our role in God's creation. If we all descend from a common family, then we have the responsibility to treat each other with love and respect. The Bible calls us to love our neighbor as ourselves, and this story reminds us of the depth of that commandment. We must work to build a world where all nations and peoples are valued and respected. The Bible is rich in stories that connect all peoples to a divine purpose. By exploring the origin of Black people through the narratives of Noah and his sons, we are invited to see the beauty of human diversity as part of God's grand design. Every nation, every culture, and every person has a special place in the history of creation. Celebrating this diversity is celebrating God's wisdom and love manifested in all humanity. Different interpretations about the origin of Black peoples in the Bible. The different interpretations about the origin of Black peoples in the Bible reflect a wealth of perspectives that have shaped cultural and theological understanding over the centuries. The most widely discussed narrative is that of Noah and his sons, especially Ham, who is often associated with Africa. Ham's descendants, including Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan, are traditionally seen as the ancestors of African peoples. This association highlights the ethnic and cultural diversity recognized in the scriptures, suggesting a long and rich history of African peoples in the biblical narrative. The curse of Canaan mentioned in Genesis 9 verses 25 to 27 has been a source of great controversy and misinterpretation. Historically, this passage has been used to justify practices of slavery and racial discrimination, misapplying the curse to all of Ham's descendants. However, a careful reading reveals that the curse was specific to Canaan, not to all of Ham's children. This distinction is crucial for correcting interpretive injustices that have caused so much suffering throughout history. In addition to the narrative of Ham, other biblical figures associated with Africa also generate diverse interpretations. For example, Cush is mentioned several times in the Bible, often linked to Ethiopia. In passages like Isaiah 18 verses 1 to 2, the land of Cush is described as rich and powerful, underscoring the importance and influence of African peoples in the biblical context. These references challenge simplistic and stereotyped narratives, presenting a more nuanced and valued view of African contributions to sacred history. Other interpretations focus on specific biblical characters, such as the Queen of Sheba, who visited King Solomon bringing many gifts and wise questions, 1 Kings 10. Identified as coming from the region of Ethiopia, the Queen of Sheba represents the interconnection and mutual respect between distinct cultures. Her presence in the biblical narrative highlights the sophistication and wealth of African civilizations, challenging Eurocentric perceptions and highlighting the diversity and global influence of African peoples. The interpretation of the origins of Black peoples in the Bible is not just a historical issue, but also a spiritual and ethical one. By recognizing the rich tapestry of stories and lineages in the Bible, we are called to celebrate the unity and diversity of God's creation. This understanding challenges us to confront and correct biases, promoting a more inclusive and just view of humanity. Ultimately, these interpretations remind us of the profound connection between all human beings, created in the image of God, and the need for mutual love and respect. Different interpretations from a biblical perspective. The Bible offers us a rich and diverse view of the origin of Black peoples, especially through the narrative of Noah's sons. After the flood, Noah and his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, repopulate the earth. Ham, the youngest son, is traditionally associated with African regions. According to Genesis 10, the descendants of Ham, including Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan, settled in various parts of Africa and beyond. This dispersion highlights the diversity and complexity of human origins recognized in the scriptures. The story of Cush is particularly significant. Cush, the son of Ham, is often identified as the ancestor of Ethiopians and other African peoples. The Bible mentions the land of Cush several times, describing it as rich and powerful. In Isaiah 18 verses 1 to 2, the land of Cush is referred to as a place of great rivers and strong nations, emphasizing the importance and influence of African peoples in the biblical narrative. These biblical references underscore the vital contribution of African peoples to sacred history. The curse of Canaan is another point of significant interpretation. Noah cursed Canaan, the son of Ham, after an incident that occurred after the flood, Genesis 9 verses 25 to 27. It is crucial to understand that this curse was specific to Canaan and not to all of Ham's descendants. Unfortunately, this passage has historically been misinterpreted to justify slavery and racial discrimination. A correct and contextualized reading of the scriptures helps us combat these harmful interpretations and promote a fairer and more compassionate understanding. Another important figure is the Queen of Sheba, who visited King Solomon bringing many gifts and wisdom, 1 Kings 10. Identified as coming from the region of Ethiopia, the Queen of Sheba represents the interconnection between different cultures and kingdoms. Her story in the Bible highlights the sophistication and wealth of African civilizations, showing that African peoples have always had a significant role in the biblical narrative. This story teaches us about mutual respect and appreciation for different cultures. In summary, The different interpretations of the origin of black peoples in the Bible invite us to recognize and celebrate the diversity of God's creation. Each narrative, from the descendants of Ham to the Queen of Sheba, highlights the richness and complexity of African peoples in sacred history. By understanding these stories, we are called to appreciate the unity of humanity and promote a more inclusive and loving vision, where everyone is valued and respected as part of divine creation. Key Bible passages and their relevance to the origin of blacks. The Bible is a treasure trove of stories and genealogies that help us understand the origins and diversity of peoples. One of the most important passages is Genesis 10, where we find the Table of Nations. This genealogy details the descendants of Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, who repopulate the earth after the flood. Ham, specifically, is mentioned as the father of Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. Cush, in particular, is often associated with African regions, providing a basis for the biblical connection with black peoples. The mention of Cush in various parts of the Bible highlights the importance of African peoples. In Genesis 10 verses 6 to 7, Cush is described as the ancestor of Nimrod, the first to be mighty on the earth. Nimrod founded several important kingdoms, including Babel and Nineveh, demonstrating the influence and impact of Cush's descendants. This passage underscores the relevance of African peoples in ancient civilizations, showing their significant contribution to the history and culture of humanity. Another crucial passage is Jeremiah 13 verse 23, where the prophet makes a powerful analogy. Can the Ethiopian change his skin, or the leopard his spots? Then may you also do good, who are accustomed to do evil. The reference to the Ethiopian, Cushite, here is a recognition of the presence and identity of African peoples in the Bible. This passage not only identifies the Cushites as a distinct people, but also uses their identity as a point of spiritual and moral reflection. The Queen of Sheba, mentioned in 1 Kings 10 verses 1 to 13, is another significant figure. Coming from a region identified as Ethiopia, the Queen of Sheba visited King Solomon, bringing gifts and testing his wisdom. This narrative not only highlights the richness and sophistication of African civilization, but also shows a profound cultural and diplomatic exchange. The visit of the Queen of Sheba represents the interaction between different cultures and the mutual appreciation between kingdoms, underscoring the African contribution to biblical history. Finally, the account of Simon of Cyrene in Matthew 27 verse 32 is another powerful example. Simon, a man of African descent, was compelled to carry Jesus' cross on the way to Calvary. This act of carrying the cross holds deep significance, symbolizing the participation of African peoples in humanity's redemptive history. Simon of Cyrene's presence in the final moments of Jesus' life highlights the inclusion and importance of African peoples in the narrative of Christian salvation. These key biblical passages help us understand the relevance and significant presence of African peoples in the Bible. Each of these stories and genealogies underscores the importance of diversity and the contribution of black peoples to sacred history, inviting us to appreciate and celebrate this rich heritage as an integral part of God's creation. Similarities between scientific and biblical narratives about the origin of blacks. Narratives about the origin of blacks, both in the biblical scriptures and in scientific discoveries, share several surprising similarities that reveal a rich and significant intersection between faith and science. Both perspectives recognize Africa as a fundamental cradle of humanity. In the Bible, the descent of Ham, one of Noah's sons, points to the dispersion of African peoples, while modern science, through mitochondrial DNA studies, identifies Africa as the birthplace of early modern humans, reinforcing the importance of this continent in human history. The idea of a common origin is another notable similarity. The Bible recounts the story of Noah and his sons, from whom all peoples of the earth descend after the flood. This narrative of a single point of origin for all humanity finds an echo in science through the theory of mitochondrial Eve. This theory suggests that all modern humans share a common ancestor who lived in Africa about 150,000 to 200,000 years ago. Both science and the Bible, therefore, point to a common ancestry, promoting the idea that all races and ethnicities are interconnected. Another similarity lies in the emphasis on diversity within unity. The Bible details the various lineages that arise from Noah's sons, highlighting a rich tapestry of peoples and nations emerging from a single family. Similarly, science shows that human genetic diversity is most pronounced in Africa, where early modern humans lived and diversified. This diversity is a testament to both biological complexity and cultural richness that emerged from African populations over time. Both narratives also recognize the importance of migrations and the spread of peoples. The Bible speaks of the dispersion of Noah's descendants throughout the world, giving rise to various nations. Science documents the movement of early modern humans out of Africa and their adaptation to different environments around the globe. These migratory movements are crucial to understanding the current distribution of human populations and their cultural and biological adaptations. In both views, migrations are seen as crucial events that shape the human diversity we see today. Finally, both science and the Bible highlight the human capacity for adaptation and resilience. The biblical stories of survival and prosperity after the flood, such as the establishment of powerful civilizations by the descendants of Ham, reflect the same human capacity that science observes in the adaptation of early humans to environmental and climatic challenges. This resilience not only ensured survival, but also the flourishing of African cultures over millennia. Both narratives, by recognizing this capacity, celebrate the strength and adaptability of humanity. These similarities between scientific and biblical narratives about the origin of blacks not only enrich our understanding of the past, but also strengthen the connection between faith and science. They invite us to see human history as a complex and interconnected tapestry, where each thread contributes to the beauty and diversity of the whole. This integrated view promotes a deeper respect for our common heritage and a commitment to valuing all cultures and peoples. Reflection on how to reconcile science and religion. Reconciling science and religion is a topic that provokes deep and inspiring reflections. Often seen as conflicting fields, science and religion can actually complement each other in surprising ways. Science, with its focus on observation and experimentation, offers detailed explanations of the mechanisms of the universe. Religion, on the other hand, provides a broader sense of purpose, helping to answer fundamental questions about the meaning of life and our place in the cosmos. Together, these two perspectives can create a more complete and enriching view of human existence. An essential approach to reconciling these two areas is to recognize that science and religion address different types of questions. Science concerns itself with the how-ish of things, how the universe works, how life evolves, how natural processes occur. Religion, on the other hand, often addresses the why are we here, what is the purpose of life, how should we live according to ethical and spiritual values. By understanding and respecting these distinctions, we can appreciate the value of each perspective without the need for conflict. Moreover, many thinkers throughout history have shown that science and religion can coexist harmoniously. Great scientists, such as Isaac Newton and Albert Einstein, found inspiration in their religious beliefs, seeing their scientific discoveries as a way to better understand the divine work. For them, exploring the universe through science was a way to admire the complexity and beauty of creation. This example demonstrates that the pursuit of scientific knowledge can be seen as an expression of the human desire to connect with the divine. Another way to reconcile science and religion is through ongoing and open dialogue. Many complex questions, such as the origin of life and the universe, can be addressed from different angles, enriching our understanding. For example, while science offers theories about the origin of the universe, such as the Big Bang, religion can offer a perspective on the purpose and intention behind creation. When scientists and theologians engage in respectful and constructive conversations, new insights can emerge that benefit both disciplines and society as a whole. Finally, the reconciliation of science and religion can lead to a more integrated and holistic view of the world. By combining the analytical rigor of science with the spiritual depth of religion, we can develop a more balanced and comprehensive approach to addressing global challenges. Issues such as climate change, ethics in biotechnology, and social justice can greatly benefit from a perspective that recognizes both scientific facts and spiritual values. This integration can help us make wiser and more compassionate decisions, promoting a more sustainable and harmonious future for all. Reflection on how to reconcile science and religion invites us to transcend division and celebrate the complementarity of these two great traditions of human thought. By embracing both scientific knowledge and spiritual wisdom, we can find a path that honors the complexity of the universe and the depth of human experience, leading us to a deeper and more enriching understanding of our place in the cosmos. Always remember that faith is a fundamental part of many lives, which is why we take a moment to pray for all our subscribers. If you would also like to receive our prayers and be blessed, we invite you to subscribe to our channel. Here, we seek to nurture not only minds, but also hearts, providing a welcoming and enriching community where everyone is valued. Join us and become part of this journey of spiritual growth and learning. Click the subscribe button below and come join our family.